Hey guys, I was just going through the book that we're currently reading, Ice Monster, and I couldn't remember certain parts. Now, if I can't remember the part of a story, especially as I'm answering the questions, all I need to do is go back and read, and I can find the answer to those questions. Or, in your case, you can go back and listen, and you can also read the text on the side. But you're here for our next two chapters. We're getting close to the end, so I'm pretty excited, of David Walliams' Ice Monster, chapters 71 and 72. Let's get started. Chapter 71, Smothering to Death. Wooly led the three humans for many more miles across the ice. North, north, north. As night fell, the entire sky lit up red and green and purple. "Wow, this is beautiful," said Elsie as she stopped still and looked up in wonder. "The Northern Lights, they're called," replied Titch. "You can only see them if you travel really far north." "Well, I went to Yorkshire to visit my Aunt Maud, and I never saw 'em," said Dotty. Titch shook his head. "I mean really far north." "As far as I'm concerned, Yorkshire is really far north. It took me hours on the train. Now, where's the mammoth taking us?" "North," replied Elsie. "North, north, north." "Are there going to be any shops?" asked Dotty. "I don't think so," said Titch. "I don't need nothing fancy, just a cup of tea, some sandwiches or cakes." "No, just more ice." "Shame," said Dotty. "I'm getting rather peckish." They climbed to the top of the tall snowdrift and looked down into the valley. "How much longer?" moaned Dotty. "Hoo!" hooted Wooly. She pointed ahead with her trunk before galloping down the drift. "Something tells me we're nearly there," replied the girl as she chased after her friend. "Hoo! Hoo!" joined in Elsie. "Nearly where?" asked Dotty. "I don't know," replied Titch. He took her hand and led her down the drift. Ahead, Elsie could see something was sticking out of the snow. On closer inspection, she realized it was a flag, a British flag, next to where a series of pegs marking out the large rectangular shape in the ice. It looked almost like a grave. "This must be where they found Wooly," exclaimed Elsie. "Hoo!" hooted the mammoth, miming, digging with her foot. "Why on blazes has the mammoth brought us all the way here?" grumbled Dotty. "There must be a reason, Dotty. Trust me," replied the girl. As if on cue, the colored lights that were shooting across the sky descended to the ground. The wind whipped up the snow, and soon it swirled all around them. The four were in the center of a spiraling snowstorm. It soon became impossible for Elsie, Dotty, and Titch to keep their eyes open, and they could hardly breathe. All they could do was huddle close to the mammoth in fear. "This is the end, Dotty," spluttered Titch as snow whirled into his mouth. "I need to tell you that I—" "Tell me what?" asked the lady. "If you would just let me finish." "Wooly wouldn't have brought us all here to die," shouted Elsie. "There must be a good reason." The mammoth wrapped her trunk around the girl. "Woo!" she cried. "Hold me close," said Elsie. "Please." This felt like the end. The storm moved in. The blizzard was smothering them. They could no longer see or feel or hear. Elsie just managed to prise her eyes open for a moment. Huge shapes were appearing out of the snowstorm. "Look!" cried Elsie. They were not alone. Chapter 72, A Perfect Circle. A dozen figures were emerging from the storm, as tall and wide as ships. Dotty and Titch struggled to open their eyes. When they did, the most magical sight greeted them, a herd of mammoths. "I wouldn't want to have to clean up after all this lot," mused Dotty. "Is this real?" asked Titch. "I don't know," replied Elsie, "but it's beautiful." "Hoo!" cried Wooly. As if by magic, the snowstorm moved outwards from where the gang of four were huddled. They found themselves standing in a perfect circle of calm as a wall of swirling snow surrounded them. Slowly, Wooly broke away from the humans and approached the herd. One of the mammoths stepped forward and reached out its trunk. Wooly did the same, and the two trunks curled around each other. in the most loving way. All the other mammoths lifted up their trunks and let out a chorus of whoos, hoo, 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 hoo. Teardrops ran down Elsie's face. They were happy tears. They were sad tears. Happy because she knew her friend was finally home. Sad because she knew this was goodbye. Wooly turned round with her trunk and beckoned Elsie over. Whoo! The girl took a deep breath and paced through the deep snow. Wooly wrapped her trunk round her friend and pushed her close to the much bigger mammoth in front of them. Elsie was scared at first, but the giant mammoth wrapped her trunk lovingly around the girl. The three of them embraced. Immediately, the girl knew exactly who this was. Wooly, it's so great to finally meet your ma, said Elsie, choking back tears. Both animals nodded their heads and let out tender sighs. Ooh! Sounded the largest animal behind them. It was time to go. The herd turned to leave. The mother mammoth gently pushing her offspring towards the girl. There was just time for one last embrace. Elsie buried her face in her friend's fur and wrapped her arms around her. In return, Wooly licked the girl's face with her rough tongue. It was a sweet, if slobbery, kiss. Elsie whispered to the mammoth's ear, I love you, Wooly. I'm never going to forget you. You won't ever forget me, will you? Hoo! Wooly sighed. Hoo! Repeated Elsie. The girl reached out her hand and stroked Wooly's fur as the animal started to move away. This was the very last touch. Elsie watched as one by one the herd faded into the wall of snow. Wooly looked back one last time and waved with her trunk, and then she too disappeared. Tears rolled down Elsie's face again, as Dottie and Titch put their arms around the girl and held her tight. The storm passed as quickly as it had appeared, leaving the three alone in the Arctic wasteland. All right, that does it for those two chapters of David Walliams' Ice Monster. Now, as you know, we go over this every day, but some people are still not doing it, so that's why we have to review. You need to answer each and every question with a complete sentence. Best way is to do it by restating the question. It's already written for you, you just have to reuse those words. Now, as you've seen, if you do it correctly, your scores are better. So do your best, restate the question like we practice, and make sure you click submit. Have a great rest of your day, guys.